Illinois Republican Representative Aaron Schock is widely considered to be a rising star in the ranks of the GOP. And this guy is a young, fresh face who can articulate the conservative message fairly well to a young audience. And I think that's one of the primary reasons why he's considered to be a rising star, is that, look, he's a good-looking guy, he's a young guy, and he's not what you would typically understand as a Republican. I mean, he is white, so in that respect, yes, he is a typical Republican, but he is young, and he is attractive, and he can string a coherent sentence together, unlike some other people in the Republican Party. So, for various reasons, I guess you could say he's a rising star in the party. In fact, he joined the Republican Study Committee, which is described as, quote, a home for deficit hawks, in order to up his standing in the party, to put this veil of respectability over him, and he's not just a naive newbie, essentially. He's saying, look, I'm part of this Republican Study Committee. I care about the issues. I'm a deficit hawk. So that's interesting, and that's all fun here. So according to the Los Angeles Times, he doesn't exactly live up to that idea of being a deficit hawk. Schock hit a little speed bump here because there was a scandal, first of all, over him spending tax dollars to turn his office into an office from the show Downton Abbey. Now, a lot of other outlets covered this. I actually didn't cover it. It didn't make the cut for the show, however long ago it was, 3 weeks ago or so. But it's wasting money, let's be clear about it, right? I don't know how much it costs, but even if it costs fucking a couple $1,000, that's still too much in terms of wasting taxpayer money for no good reason. You know what this reminds me of? The stories about the portraits. You know how all the different people in the executive branch and all the different Congress people, they all get their a picture of them drawn and they hang it up right in front of their faces so they can masturbate to themselves, and they're like, oh, yes, look at me, I'm a distinguished gentleman in this oil painting. Good thing we spent $30,000, taxpayer dollars, to make this. That always drove me fucking crazy. I mean, just go to New York City. There's some dude who probably is better than the person who did your shitty painting who'll draw a picture of you for $20. I mean, this is an area where I'm a fiscal conservative. So that was one problem that this guy ran into, but now we have a new scandal that appears to be much bigger. So he regularly used one of his private donors' planes. Quote, the AP identified at least 12 flights worth more than $40,000 on donors' planes since mid-2011. Now, not only did he use his donors' planes, which is already an issue because, of course, conflict of interest, corruption, yada yada, you go down the list, it's a problem. But he also spent taxpayer money to reimburse his buddies and his donors. So that's even worse, because you're screwing people in two ways. You're screwing people because you're too buddy-buddy with your donors in a way that's corrupt, and you're also screwing people because you're taking taxpayer dollars and you're forking it over to your donors. Another clear example of corruption. Now, what drives me crazy about this is that they actually changed the rule later on to allow Congress people to use their donors' shit, like their planes, for example. So that's the argument that people are using now to try to defend this idiot. They're like, oh no, they changed the rule and everything, and so it's cool, don't worry about it. No conflict of interest, no corruption, because we just pretended like it's not corruption. Okay, it's still corruption, number one. And number two, when he was doing it, they hadn't changed the rule yet. So this is still a massive issue. Now, it gets even worse. Quote, beyond air travel, Schock spent thousands more on tickets for concerts, car mileage reimbursements, which was among the highest in Congress, and took his interns to a sold-out Katy Perry concert in Washington last June, all on the taxpayer's dime. Again, you want to talk about an issue where all of a sudden I become a fiscal conservative, it's right here. No, I don't want my tax dollars to go to you and a bunch of drunk idiots, your staffers, to go listen to a fucking Katy Perry concert. What kind of bullshit is that? This is why we pay taxes? This is why we pay taxes. Meanwhile, we don't have enough money to turn the water on in Detroit. You know, we still have massive amounts of poverty and income inequality in America. We still have medical bankruptcies in America. So we can live in a country where we have medical bankruptcies, but at the same time, our tax dollars are going to this idiot to go see a Katy Perry concert. No, it's just flat out unacceptable. But here's my favorite line in the whole thing. Quote, his PAC even paid $1,440 to a massage parlor for a fundraising event. So it is, if you ask me, beyond likely that we have taxpayer-funded hand jobs / happy endings in the United States of America. There's your Republican fiscal conservatism and family values, right? Because usually the Republicans, I run on family values. I'm a deeply conservative man, and I know how gender roles work, and I know how the family's supposed to work, and sex is bad unless you're doing it with your wife in missionary position with the lights off. Meanwhile, they're like, dude, taxpayer money? Let's go get a hand job on the taxpayers? At least a massage, right? At least have somebody touch you in a sensual way on the taxpayer's dime. Can we do that? Let's do that. So there are your family values, and there's your fiscal conservatism.